Hey everyone, welcome to the Open Minded Podcast. This episode, Isaac and I talk about how your environment has a huge impact on the way that you live your life, how you can make small changes in your environment to make big changes in how you feel, in the actions you take, and the way that you carry yourself. We share some of the ways that we have got to the root of our problems to attack them at the source. We believe that something we can all start with is realizing that the negative feelings or events we have aren't a reflection of us, but the reflection of our upbringing and past traumas. We hope that you enjoy today's episode and find some value from the things that we share. All right then, people. How are you doing? You've heard from the intro. We're going to do a nice intro for this one, so I hope you enjoyed the intro. Today we're going to be talking about products of your environment, how we're stuck in a system, our experiences with like being stuck in the first feeling of our realizing that we're stuck in the system, and how we're kind of combating that now, and how like we can give some maybe tips to people out there who haven't realized the sort of things that they're going through at the moment, and how they can sort of make changes to sort themselves out and just start making those small steps to getting the realization, isn't it? It's like you don't really know until someone tells you, or you kind of realize yourself that you're kind of stuck, and you're the point of it is the product of your environment. So the environment that you've set out for yourself, and also the environment, your outside environment, and how you can kind of change that. But yeah.
So I think that people a lot of times don't really acknowledge how much their environment, whether that's the environment inside their body or the environment around them where they live, their friends, their day-to-day life, how much that influences their behavior and their emotions and their reactions to certain things. And there was this quote that I liked about it that says, "You are a product of your environment. So choose the environment that will best develop you toward your objective. Analyze your life in terms of its environment. Are the things around you helping you towards success, or are they holding you back?" So you made a nice point earlier about this inside environment, the environment inside your mind and your body. And there's kind of one point to make about this, that your environment influences you, but you also have some element of control over it. For most people, you can control what food you put into your body. Is it healthy stuff that you've selected yourself and cooked yourself, or is it cheap fast food? And each one has a big difference. And I think when you're more conscious about your environment and you're more selective about what you eat and kind of what people are around you and what situations you allow yourself to be in, I think you become a lot more sensitive to it. For a lot of people who only or have eaten healthy food for a long period of time, if they have a big amount of sugar or they eat like fast food, they really feel it straight away. So I feel like there's an element of becoming more aware about what types of environments you're allowing yourself to be in.
This is a perfect one, because I think a lot of people don't get the relationship between sort of anger and all these different emotions that come about. They don't really understand that these things that you're putting in your body is a reflection on how you act and how you behave. And these sort of emotions of anger and things, they come about because of the things that you put in your body. So yeah, all these different things. I don't really think people quite understand that if they eat that bad food and they carry on eating those bad foods, it's like you're gonna feel shit. You're gonna feel sluggish. You're gonna have a short temper. You're gonna have all these things.
Yeah. So I was telling you about my friend's dad, who for like 50 years was constantly just on edge, ready to like
Yeah.
blow his lid at any given moment. But he slept 4 or 5 hours every night for years, decades, and constantly had a bad back, never got it seen to, so he was always just angry. He was always just on edge and like had just this stress built up in his body. And I felt this.
You've recently had this,
I
haven't you?
recently felt this and went to see a chiropractor, and he kind of said, have you been having like disturbed sleep, or have you been craving sugar, and have you been irritable? And I said, yeah, all three, mate. And he's like, well, the areas that you had tension in are linked to those three things. And the difference that I felt straight away, I came out there and I felt like 100 times better. And in the few days afterwards, like the way I was craving sugar and has completely changed, and I kind of tried to switch up what I've been eating, and then the way I've been sleeping has been a lot more, nice. I've been well rested when I sleep. I'm not just sleeping at random times that much. So yeah, even when you kind of think there's nothing wrong, then there still could be. Like I felt like I was like, nah, there's nothing wrong with me. It's fine. I'm just stressed. But there was a number of things. It was probably the stress in my back, but also the food I was eating was contributing to disturbed sleep, and then the disturbed sleep was contributing to irritability, and kind of from getting my back clicked up a little bit, eating different food and sleeping better, I just feel a million times better than I did last week. And
I
yeah,
I think I was going through a very similar sort of thing because I felt myself getting very agitated and argumentative. I felt when you feel like you really want to like just argue with someone, like
yeah,
I was just having that feeling of like just frustration and I thought but the way I've kind of got to a point in my brain where I can notice those certain changes and I said, it's all about asking that question, why am I feeling that way? Okay, and then you've got to like sort of pick all the different things out of why you think that is. Is it this? Is it that? And you've got to sort of what's the word? You've got
you
to
got to
like
unpack that a bit.
you've got to unpack it and rule certain things out. Is it what I'm eating? No, but I have been eating the same lunch every day. Just for instance, with me,
Okay,
I eat the same lunch every
a
day, and I think
process of elimination, like
yeah, yeah,
kind of work up.
exactly, yeah. So I just was going through certain things, and um, yeah, it was. I needed to drink more water and certain things like that, and getting more sleep and having certain conversations with people, and yeah, just that elimination process of combating that. Why are you feeling like that? Um,
Well, this is a funny thing actually, because I think you start as you kind of cultivate your life in this way, your problems are like different. You'll like be sensitive to different problems. So for example, we've got a mutual friend who feels depressed and down, and we say to him, probably all that weed you're smoking, mate.
mm,
Yeah. And he doesn't see it as a problem, but I know for a fact that if I started smoking weed, I would feel like depressed, and I'd be lazy, and a lot of things wouldn't get dealt with, and all of these other knock-on effects that these things have.
mm,
Same again with alcohol and people who've got problems that they're not really uh what's the word? They're not attributing these problems to this behavior that they have. For whatever reason, they seem to think, like a lot of people seem to think, oh, it's not that bad if I just have a drink now and then.
mm.
And it's like maybe it isn't, but for me, I think it would be, because I do attribute that to negative consequences.
Mm. Yeah, it's a lot easier when you sort of take that out of your life Um, I mean, it's absolutely fine to do all these different drink and smoke a bit of weed here and there, but to do that every day, you eliminate that out of your life for a bit or whatever, and then you it's a lot easier for you to notice these other things that are
Mm.
affecting your life. Like when I was drinking all the time, I only noticed the fact that I was drinking. I didn't notice that there was so many other things attributed to that as well. But where I was so concentrated on the drink, it was like that was the only problem really. But I understood that that's a kind of different thing, but it kind of is. But I realized the fact that that was the problem. But I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, some people don't understand that that is the problem, which that then that is a massive problem because like that is the main one,
Mm.
and then all the other ones sort of follow. Um, but about how changing your environment in your brain, like your like what I said earlier, like your environment is your brain, and you create
Yeah,
your own environment in your own brain. So if you're putting in chemical these chemicals into your brain, which are actually changing your brain all the time, then you're changing your environment and you're having a negative impact on
yeah.
your environment.
Your body is where you live all the time. So if you make it a shit place to live,
Mm,
you're not going to feel great.
yeah.
And I feel, coming back to this point of that your environment influences you, but you have some element of control over it, is really important to kind of realize how much your environment influences you, how much, you know, having, for example, having a comfortable bed and being able to sleep undisturbed, and to kind of have a quiet place that's warm with that you can live. You don't really appreciate certain things like that until you've tried to live aside from those, or been forced to live aside from those things. And it those, I value those things a lot, and I've tried to make where I live now a comfortable, homely, clean, warm, quiet, good place that I can rest properly and recuperate, and have made it somewhere that I enjoy spending time. Whereas every other place I've lived, I've kind of felt uncomfortable, or like uneasy, and
Unsafe.
yeah, or unsafe, and it's made living there like a stressful thing. And when I've been living in them places, it is immediately, you know, tense on, like, my body becomes tense. Whereas here, it's not really been as a result of where I am. It's been a result of other things, whether it's been the food, or, for example, like lifting weight that's too heavy for me and
Mm,
hurting my back, and then my back being like an element that has made me look kind of angry and
mm.
on edge a bit.
This is like a beautiful thing for me to come on to about because we've spoke about like moving out and stuff before.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't realize that the environment that I had at my dad's was like a bad environment for me. And we do talk about like saving money and stuff, but for me, the money that I spend in my own place where I built my own safe environment where well not that it wasn't safe at my dad's, it was absolutely safe and we did have a great time and we both loved each other massively. Um and a lot of respect for each other, but it wasn't a healthy environment for my own brain. So for me to change that, it's worth that extra money. It
Yeah,
saves me massively in
there's
every other aspect. That it's more of an asset for me to live by myself and pay that extra money than it would be to live with my dad's. Um, so yeah, that was something that I changed that I could change, and realizing the fact that the money's not the issue. Like even though you'll have to spend a bit more money, it's so much worth it.
so there's this thing about money and what it buys you, and what problems it's able to fix. And in this book I've recently read, uh, the Almanac of Naval Ravikant, it from a quote from Naval, it's basically that money only fixes material problems. And most of the problems I had when I felt depressed were material problems. But because, stealing food off housemates, stealing food in shops, borrowing money and never paying it back, ending up feeling like shit all the time and spending your money on drugs. And like I kind of thought that my problem was just like it was me, I was the problem, and that there was something fundamentally wrong with me. And then when I realized it was like, right, get a few quid in your pocket, make your house comfortable. Like I think so. We spoke about it in an earlier podcast where I had this blanket that was like not big enough for my body.
Everyone loved that.
Everyone loves that
Yeah.
bit, don't they? Because it's
I
such a
got loads of
relate.
messages
It's
about
such a
that.
relatable thing,
Yeah.
like that. It's quite normal to just have a fucking duvet cover that fits
Yeah.
your bed. I've got it. I want to actually show you it today, right? And you see how small it is. It's like, if you imagine the size of this table, it's like probably that big and like that wide. For a double bed, that's not the
Yeah.
right size, is it?
Doesn't even cover your legs.
No, or if it does cover your legs, it comes up to like halfway up
Yeah.
my stomach. Right? So I remember when I changed rooms in the house I was living in to a bigger room in this shared house, and I spent like 70 quid on bedding, and I got a nice actual duvet cover, like nice pillows and whatever. And that night I slept, and I was like, fucking hell, is this how other people are sleeping? Like, how is everyone not the most successful version of themselves if they just sleeping normally like this? I know, because my sleep was really fucked for a while as well. Like, for other reasons other than that, like things that gave me PTSD of people trying to break into the house. But, I I I recognized it immediately how much different I felt waking up from a comfortable bed that I've rested well in and felt safer in that room, and that difference was noticeable straight away. And it was actually from that point that I made quite a few good improvements in my life of stopping smoking weed and starting to save money and stuff. Was around the time when I changed my bedding. So I feel like these small tweaks, but for most people, their problems weren't or may not be as extreme as that. Obviously, there are people with problems that are just as extreme or more extreme, but generally, our behavior is kind of habitual things that we've kind of come to normalize, whether that's drinking every day or smoking weed every day or eating fast food 3-4 times a week, getting takeaways constantly. I think some of the behavior which actually affects us negatively are things that we've just normalized. So it's quite important to kind of evaluate what you were saying, like this process of elimination of like of maybe why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and kind of unpack it, but also be kind to yourself. And this was one of the big things that was a kind of big pivot or shift for me in my experience just of life in general, was that now I'd say that I've become good friends with the voice in my head. I'm on the same side, whereas before, like, I actually thought there was something wrong with me, and I convinced myself that Isaac, you're broken. There's something wrong with you. You're not like other people. You're fucked. You're never gonna be all right.
Yeah.
And if you just tell yourself that every day, how like who's gonna fix it?
This is a mad one because I've been practicing this for a long time. The positive of things that you tell yourself, that is your environment as well, which it ties in perfectly of the words that you use to words about yourself, and you talk to yourself. Those little words, because when a person is depressed, they'll say something will happen, and someone will say, "Why didn't you do that?" And then they'll go in their head, like, "Why didn't I do that? I'm such an idiot." And then you say, "Well, I'm just worthless, and I'm never gonna do any of this, and I'm never gonna do any of that." And then it's a constant spiral of just never gonna achieve anything, and you might as well just kill yourself. And coming out of that is you are putting that in your own environment. Like, you are this, you are that, you are these terrible things. So if you change that round and say, I am amazing, I am beautiful, I'm loving, I'm caring, all the positive things that you know you are and you want to be, then you will become that. And the other day I went out on a run, and I'd done about 4.5K, and I did it quite slow. I'd only done that once before, but my time was quite slow. And then the second time, what changed was I wasn't. It wasn't that I was like, I just wasn't really saying anything at all. I was just thinking about over different things, what's going on or whatever. But the second time I went for a run, I just had this constant of like, you can do it. You're amazing. You're smashing it. You're killing it. All these different things, and just positive, and it's like, you look what you've gone through in your life. This is minor. This is nothing. You can. This is easy. And absolutely killed my time. And it's like those that positive energy that you give yourself, and this positive. That's something that we wanted to go on as well. Is like, there's your soul, and then there's this monkey brain, which you've got to realize that these are two different things acting with each other. Um, and there's you, and then you've got to control this thing. So like you, when you say, or just anyone, you get angry and it's like, oh, like, I just want to go off the rails and fucking do whatever, and just get angry with someone over something small. It's like, you need to stop yourself. That little thing that's you needs to stop your monkey brain from going all mental and crazy. And it's just like a crazy thing to realize that you're in control of. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like, there's you, and then there's like this brain in your body which is like, wants to do one thing, and then you've got to control it and say, no, I don't want to do that. It's like, but once you realize that fact, it's things start getting a bit easier, and it's like, oh, okay, I don't have to act this way. Like, I'm not a slave to my emotions. I'm not a slave to this monkey brain. I can choose these certain things. Um, so yeah, understanding the psychology of things, and um, it's like such a massive thing that's, for me, changed my life massively.
It's understanding your own psychology and how you react to things, and each person's situation is unique. Their history is unique. How they respond to things is unique. So there's no one size fits all. But the thing that is well known in psychology is that humans have basically only a couple of ways of responding to certain situations, and that in a lot of situations we respond in similar ways. Yeah, most people, if they put their hand over a flame, pull it back. Right? Most people don't enjoy that
Mm.
feeling. Yeah. Same with, most people, when if they're constantly giving themselves negative messaging inside their head, and there's no reinforcement, there's no, like, they're in a negative mindset, most people can make themselves more angry very easily, and
Mm.
they can associate everything with something negative. It's quite, when you're in a bad mood, you're just like, and someone's like, oh, do you want an ice cream, mate? You're hungry. Ah, fuck off. Yeah.
That was something for me though, because it's like, when I realized the fact that there's this me and this other, this brain that I've got to control. It kind of made me realize of, oh, that's why I acted like that. That's why I acted like this in the past. And it was just, that wasn't me. That was just my brain, which I didn't realize I had to control. And um, it made me kind of forgive myself a lot more. Do you know what I mean? And that's what something I would want to for people to realize, is the fact that a lot of times that you go over these things that you've done in your life, and these bad things, it's not actually, it's not always you. It's the product of your environment. It's your,
Yeah, your habits
yeah.
and your life, and it just comes out in one go. And uh, for this last week, I've been trying to kind of hold myself back from responding to things straight away in anger. And if you do take that extra couple of minutes to think about things, and instead of responding in a rage, because when you're angry or you're thinking down, you're not thinking clearly, you're not being rational, and you're in a moment of anger, it's so easy to make yourself more angry and ramp it up and ramp it up,
So
and
easy.
and
It
like
feels like the
for
easy
the
route,
next
doesn't
the
it?
next small thing to annoy you and the next small thing to piss you off even more, you know you can escalate that anger exponentially so quickly, and it's kind of ridiculous to behave like that. Yeah,
When you could just say,
when you could just pause for a few minutes and probably feel completely differently about the whole situation. Obviously the situations are different, but
we can only talk about our own
yeah,
experiences.
in my experience, especially in the last week, because I kind of noticed that it was becoming a normal thing for me to kind of flip in situations where I felt angry. So I've kind of realized that that way of responding hasn't helped me. So since I went to see the chiropractor and been feeling a bit better, or a lot better, should I say, that yeah, just taking a moment to actually pause when I feel like responding quickly has made me act completely differently than how I would if I'd responded quickly and without much thought. So yeah, this point of, I'll give you an example of my friend who was kind of going through a tough time, didn't really have money, didn't really have any food in the cupboards, and I tried to help him in the sense of not seeing his problems like they were big problems. A night that we were out drinking, we were at a house party, and he kind of took me in side room and was like, he's like, mate, I wanted to. He's like, I don't know what to do. But, I'm a bit fucking lost at the moment. And I was like, why? What's going on? You can talk to me about it. And he's like, well, first of all, I've got no food in the cupboards. I was like, well, don't look at that as a problem, because tomorrow I'll go and I'll get like 50 quid worth of shopping for you, and then you got food for a couple of weeks. What's the next problem? He was like, there's not really another problem. I was like, well, you've got no problems left then, mate, because it's sorted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, enjoy the rest of your night, and tomorrow when I get up, I'm going to go in Lidl and I'm going to buy you a shitload of food. All right? I'm going to fill up a trolley. So, and he was like, oh. He's like, fucking hell. He was like, all the other problems that I thought I had were basically just that. Like, because he had this one big fundamental issue that he was facing, everything else was also a problem. Yeah. And then you think of everything else in a negative way. And then when you kind of got a couple of weeks of kind of headway, that gave him a little bit of a kickstart to not feel so down and just continue drinking every day. It kind of kickstarted him into finding work and, piecing things together a little bit better. And I feel like this is something that we tend to do, that we kind of can make something seem like it's the whole end of the world when it isn't, or that something small like 50 quid could actually fix the problem, and that in turn makes the other problems that you have not seem so blown out of proportion, because the big problem that you're actually really feeling isn't making you feel so down, so that you can actually think clearly about things. So this is where, yeah, being able to think clearly about what's going on completely changes how you're going to react to the situation. And it's just one of these things that you're,
Try not to let it snowball and
yeah, but these, I don't know how to say it, that it can be a small thing that makes your whole environment seem bad, and like a small kind of tweak can make a big change.
it's like Jordan Peterson says, make your bed in the morning. It's like something so simple, and then you snowball from there. Instead of snowballing into a negative place, snowball into a positive place. And something that's so simple as doing your bed in the morning can be that little something positive that you can snowball. Which that's something that changed me massively. I used to never make my bed. I used to always leave it messy. But little simple thing like starting off your day with being tidy, you snowball into being tidy through the rest of your day. Um, so yeah, it's all about sort of realizing that these certain things, eliminating these all these other things, and um, getting down to the main problem, or the smallest problem that you can deal with at the time. I think that's quite an important thing, because some of your problems you can't deal with in a certain mindset that you're in.
Mm.
So if there's something small that you feel like I can do that, and that's going to give me that one step forward to get into that place where I want to be, where I can deal with that certain thing, then start with that smaller thing.
Yeah, so I don't know if we've come onto this point of creating a positive environment. You know, a lot of times in my life, I felt like there was something wrong with me. And when I'd spoken to other people about it who were level headed, like a doctor I went to see when I felt depressed, he was just like, there's nothing wrong with you, mate. He was like, anyone else in your situation would feel exactly the same. How you've responded to this emotion you're feeling, is the correct emotional response to the experience that you've had. And I was feeling really angry at the time. I'd like wake up and have these fucking electric shocks, literally like feel like there's an electric shock going up and down my spine. And I'd fucking smashed up the whole flat. I'd smashed up my fucking bedroom. I was constantly like punching tables. My wrists were really weak because I was constantly punching things and hitting things and slamming my hands down on tables. And all my knuckles were cut. And I was literally so fucking angry all the time. And the doctor was just like, you need to change your environment, mate. He's like, you can't live like this. You need to be able to put your energy into something good, like a project. He's like, the way that you live your life is no wonder that you feel like that. He was like, make a big change in your life. Just make a big change. And he gave me these antidepressants. And he said, take them for as long as you feel like you need to take them. If you want to be re-prescribed them, that's fine. But he was like, I don't think you need these. He was like, all I think these are going to do is they're going to flatten that emotion that you feel when you wake up. And it did, but I couldn't feel happy either. I just felt flat. There was no up or down. It was just like I woke up and I was just like, there was nothing.
Yeah.
Felt like nothing.
Mm.
And I only took them for 10 days. And then I made a massive change in my life because I moved out where I was living, packed a bag, and then just went to Italy for 2 months. Like on a one-way ticket, went for a month, extended it for another month, came back, moved into a random house, and just got on with my life from there. And feeling that change in environment from going from a really negative place that I was living, being around a negative person, made such a big difference in how I felt. Because like, one, I wasn't smoking weed every day, and I'd also come to a place that was much nicer. The food was nicer, the water was nicer. The come out of my flat and there was like a big valley and mountains, and it was like an insanely beautiful place to be.
There's something that happens to your brain when you go to like a new place though. It's like why that feeling of why people love going on holiday, because it's like completely different surroundings, and it changes your brain and it kind of um rewires your brain, and it like starts, it resets it. It's like that reset of changing your environment, going somewhere new, even if you're going for a ride through a different part of the different woods, or go climbing a mountain. It's like that different perspective. And
Yeah, one of the best ways to think is to like take a different route to work or to school or to wherever you normally go. If you just go a different way, and it's definitely walking and like looking at things and being around different places is definitely a quick way to make your body feel different. And the point I wanted to make about helping my friend with the shopping was that I wanted him to, and I did a lot more things with him and had to buy him shopping more than once. But I'd always take him places. If I was going somewhere, and I'd just ring him and see what he's doing and be like, do you want to come with me? And it's because I kind of wanted to show him that there wasn't something wrong with him, and that these small little days out and doing nice things here and there and being around different people does have a big effect on you. And there's not actually something fundamentally wrong with you. It's just there's something wrong with how you're living your life. Because that was something which, I don't know, would have probably saved me fucking 3 years of feeling depressed. Because I genuinely believe that there was something wrong with me. And people told me that. And like, people reinforced that idea in my head. So until I had someone like a doctor actually say to me, you have responded exactly correctly to what's happened. And if you responded differently to this, something would be wrong with you, but there's not. So you need to stop thinking like that, and you need to make a change. And when I did that, it's fucking amazing. But like, let me add this point as well, right? That when I came back to England from Italy, the first thing I did was went and got weed, right? And then for 6 months, I was straight back in that way of thinking. And this actually ties in around the time that I said at the beginning here of when I had that shit blanket because all my money was spent on drugs. Yeah. Literally couldn't even afford the bright bedding. And then when I changed rooms and I got proper bedding, that was when I stopped smoking weed. That was when I started saving money. And from that, literally that day that I decided I was not going to do it anymore, my money went up, my health went up, my mental health went up, my happiness went up. Everything has gone up since that point. That was like the turning point in that chart of when things turned around in my life. And now I feel it straight away. If I go on a little relapse, whether that's doing brownies or doing some ketamine or something like that, all it does is reinforce the thing in my head that is what was making me feel like that. So every time I do it, I'm just like, as much as like I may enjoy it or it's good, the amount of negative things that are attached to it
and the amount of time after as well, which not because not exactly,
It's not a
it's not
quick.
just the time of when you're
Yeah,
high,
yeah,
it's like the negative like
the-
effects it has after in your brain.
yeah.
I mean, I was just completely stuck in that loop of drinking every weekend and feeling shit the whole way through the week, and then um, so I was just constantly in a negative place of like, but the thing is we I think a lot of people who can relate with doing gear is like and just drinking every weekend is like you feel shit and then you're like I'm never gonna do that again. I'm like it's like gets to like Monday and you're like I'm gonna change my life now and then you're like you're building up to the weekend like yeah I'm gonna stay in this weekend and I'm not gonna drink I'm not gonna do nothing and then it gets to the Thursday and it's like oh I'm starting to feel a bit happier again now and then it's like yeah I'm just gonna get straight back on the bag and then it's like constant effect again.
But the thing is, you got to think then about how what what's going on in your life that makes you feel like
Mm.
that. It's the fact that every day you're told where to be at what time, you're
Mm.
told exactly what to do all day, and you're working, and you don't really get any time for yourself.
I think
So,
I've said this before. I've always felt since I was really young because when you're young, you're just. I always wanted to be older when I was young because I just wanted to be. I felt like I was this free spirit, and I've come from being this free spirit to being this locked in a cage, and everyone's from like when you're a kid and everyone tells you what you have to do and you can't do this, you can't do that, and you see everyone else doing all these other things and you can't do them, and I felt like this caged animal who just wanted to like be free, and I've got to a point where I'm a lot more free than I used to be. Like when I turned 18, I was a lot more free than what I used to be, but I still like confined by some set of rules and set of walls which um I didn't feel like I had before. Like I feel in my soul I didn't have before. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
what rules are you talking about? Yeah.
Like society and um the way that just the way that things are. Like I I want to do. I don't want to be bound down to the fact that I have to go out and make do a job every day or like the fact that I have to do something every day or like I have to do something that I don't want to do. Um,
Hmm.
I wasn't this free spirit who could just roam and explore and do whatever. I like there if you don't have money in this country that we live in other countries, yeah, that's fine. But in this country, you can't just go out and like live in the forest. Like if like we're not taught anything to do with like how to live sufficiently by ourselves in the woods. Like if anyone from the UK
Yeah,
was chucked in the woods and said
they'd be
you
dead.
survived, they'd all be dead. Not all of them, obviously. Some people like to delve deep into that. But if you chucked an 16-year-old from when he gets out of school, like
In the
in the
woods.
woods, he wouldn't be able to survive. Um, and that has always been like a. I've always loved being outside. I've always like this sort of stuff, and um, the fact that I couldn't just do something like that, it's a bit that's what I mean by being confined to these a set of rules where you have to
Well, yeah,
do
you're
this.
forced into
Mm,
this way of living, and that is in itself a form of suffering, and that is where these bursts of, you know, whether it's on a Friday, a lot of people actually spend most of their life looking forward to Friday and regretting Monday.
mm,
And this was something which I, when I realized that you need to kind of pick something that you enjoy doing every day, that was a really big change for me because I'd never really had a Monday to Friday job before anyway, except for really one couple month period in my life. But I didn't really realize that people lived like that. I kind of couldn't really believe it, but people do live like that. And it's not only people who live in this Monday to Friday work like routine. There's so many people who do a lot of things that they don't actually want to do it.
mm. But some people absolutely love it, and that's absolutely fine. Like I know certain people who just, them like 50-year-old men who just love going to work, and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna be retired when I'm 60, and it's like they're absolutely fine with that. They work their life and they love the job that they do, and they love working in the system, and that's all they like, coming home and
Good on them.
yeah, yeah.
That's the thing. But for most people, I think for most people who are kind of open-minded and actually, there is an element of, I kind of think of it as one foot in, one foot out. That there is an element of understanding the fact that we have been born into a system that's so organized that money is required for everything, whether that's following your passions or it's just survival. You need money. If you're an artist and you want to buy canvases and paintbrushes, how much? Like, you need money. Or you're just paying for water, or you're just paying for like oats and bread and butter to just stay alive. Everything requires money. So you need to be one foot in that system, in the sense that you're doing that to survive, but you need to also kind of be one foot out of that system, in the sense that that isn't the be all and end all of your life. You need to cultivate other aspects of your life to actually maintain your happiness, maintain your health. And there's kind of this idea of that you aren't a lorry driver, for example. You're a person who does lorry driving for a certain number of hours a week in order to get paid. Like, don't identify with being, oh, I'm just a bartender, or I'm a lawyer. It's like, no, you practice law for this many hours a week in order to get paid, but you are a person. You're you. Yeah, like
that rings true to me for the job that I do now, because I kind of thought, because I've always had these different ideas, like just me and you, we've always had like ideas of how we can do this or do the things that we love. But a lot of the things that you love to do, like that, you can't sustain that straight away. So and that's what fucks you up, the fact that you can't sustain your lifestyle straight away from doing the things that you love. It kind of like the thing with a business, you need to like not put money into that business. Like you need to not take money from that business. So when you're starting from the ground up, that's what makes it so difficult. That means you have to get a job and you have to work for a wage and then do that hustle on the side until that hustle becomes something that you can do every day. Um, and that for me, I realized that, and I realized, okay, I have to get a job. And it has to be something I want to do. I can deal with day to day. And I came across lorry driving because I'm by myself, don't really get hassled. Um, I can do this, I can do that. I can if I want to get a coffee, I want to get some food, I can just stop and go get some food. It's not like fucking being stuck at a desk and you're like, oh, like you can't, like you've got answers. Can I go out for a fag? Oh yeah. No, you're not allowed to go out for a fag yet. Do you know what I mean? Like I can just, not that I smoke, but if I wanted to, I could get out and have a fag. Do you know what I mean? So what is something that I'm
that's the thing. Like, we're adults. How are people actually asking permission?
Yeah.
If I remember, I literally left my job because they said you have to wear a mask, and I was like, mate, listen, yeah, you're not paying me enough to tell me what I have to do and what I'm not allowed to do. Whether or not masks work, not even anything to do with that. But it was every morning you have to fill out and sign this piece of paper. But it was like an online thing that you had to sign into with a different code, like a reference number every day, to say that you didn't have any symptoms of COVID. So hang on, mate. It takes me half an hour to get here, and I start at 6 a.m. I don't have time, this 10 minutes, to like come on here and do this every day. Make sure I've got masks and blah, blah, blah. I was like, it's not happening.
Yeah, are you paying me for that time that I'm wasting?
Yeah, you're not paying me for this.
Yeah.
First of all, the half an hour it takes me to get here and the half an hour it takes to get home. and then this extra time of this new task that you've expected me to do. So I'm sorry, but I won't be coming back in.
Oh, mate, that's another thing I'm grateful for, that I don't have to wear no mask. And I remember there was recently I went to a certain place and they were trying to make me they were trying to make me wear a mask. They were like, "Oh, you've got to wear your mask." I'm like, "But I'm in my cab. I'm always going to be outside." And they were like, "Yeah, well, you've just got to be seen on the cameras to be coming in with the mask on in your cab." And it's like,
But you can
that's
take
not.
it off when you come
I
out.
can take it on when take it off
That's
when
not
I
happening,
yeah.
mate.
It's like that just makes zero sense whatsoever, and I'm not doing it. And they're like, "All right, then, well, you just can't come in." And I was like,
All right.
like, I won't collect what you want me to collect. Like, it's just
What did your work say?
they were like, "Oh, okay, like we can't make you wear it," like, and that just seems absolutely stupid. So it's like, but they've had it with a lot. He's the bloke said, yeah, well, a lot of drivers don't want to wear it, and they just don't come in. I was like, all right, well, I just won't come in. But I wouldn't have gone in there anyway because anyway, that's a completely different story.
But
um,
along this point of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, have 1 foot into the system to earn your money, and then get the fuck out of it.
mm,
Yeah. Don't be making commitments that leave you as part of this longer if you don't enjoy it or if it doesn't enrich your life.
mm,
Yeah. And, you know, I think people don't understand the decisions they're making and the long-term effects that they have. And if you don't kind of work out a system for you to get money in the least stressful way, in, you know, to be able to get the most money in exchange for the least amount of your time, which is really the aim of the game, and then also the least stress and the least backlash, you're going to be dealing with this nonsense for the rest of your life.
mm,
Like, my goal in what the way I actually look at my life is set up businesses that are profitable, that I can reinvest into other businesses and afford to pay myself, and then buy some land, build a house, and live as off grid as fucking possible, because I'm not interested in interacting with this system on a day to day for the rest of my life. Like, going in the shop, and now when you go in a shop, there's all these new weird rules of how close you can stand to people and how many people are allowed in there, and rules about what you can touch and what you can't touch. Like, I went in Specsavers and they were like, "Oh, try any glasses you try and you have to put them in this basket so that we can wash them." So, all right, fucking hell. Like, you know, there's just all this nonsense that people have to deal with,
mm,
and it's like, can we not all just like think of, you know, we're all here on this random planet alive, and we're spending most of our time just being told what to do, where to be, how long to be there for. And the worst part is in these jobs, someone else decides what you get paid. In my line of work, I decide how much I get paid,
mm,
not you. Like, why am I going to let you decide how much I'm getting paid?
or I'm charging from what I do.
Like, I'm telling you how much you're paying for it, or you're not fucking getting it, mate. Yeah, like, simple as that. If you want it,
Mm,
this is the price.
mm,
Yeah, that's, you know, because in a job you've got no leverage because they've decided your price. You're just indispensable. So, oh no, it's everyone will take a tenner for this.
mm,
This is a good wage. Yeah, and you get told what, because everyone's been told what they're paid,
mm,
right? Everyone thinks that that's the rate, but
mm,
that isn't the rate. That's the rate that you've accepted. Yeah, and because I haven't accepted that rate, I'm not indispensable like that. Yeah, most people that work in bars or restaurants or like service industry, you just swap them out. They're just like, there's so many people,
just pawns.
you just fucking swap them out.
Mm,
And this is the kind of weird thing I think people haven't really taken into account about their life and how they earn their money, that like it needs to be as stress free, as quick, and as efficient as possible, so that you can move on to living your life.
Mm.
Like if in a day I want to work like 2 or 3 hours, if I don't spend the rest of the other time kind of, sometimes like I was kind of writing my plan out for today, and I put a couple of things to set for the time after this. And I was like, actually, I'm just going to leave that space empty because I don't know what I'm going to feel like after that. Yeah, like our lives aren't, this is the thing about structure in your life, is for example, in my life, I know that I might not feel like, for example, I need to photograph all of the receipts from the last 4 months to give to my new accountant. But I might not feel like doing that after this podcast.
Mm.
Yeah. So I've just put that as something that needs to be done by 10 o'clock tonight. Instead of at 3 o'clock when we finish this, I'm going to start photographing these receipts. Like, nah, but I'm not going to fucking feel like doing that, am I?
We might want another panini.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I might fancy another sandwich
Another
and
coffee and a
do
panini.
a coffee and just have a chill with you for an hour. So I don't know. I've kind of been through so many little nuanced situations that each one has kind of taught me different things about myself and how I react in certain situations. And I feel like that does take a lot of time. And yeah, for me, it's just important that for me, creating this nice environment for myself is drinking water, exercising, eating nice quality food, and so like exercise, but then also having a safe, warm environment where I live. And you know, your environment comes down to your clothes, your friends, your food. What music do you listen to? Do you listen to music or do you listen to podcasts? And you know, I start to feel like sometimes I think, oh, I'm not really going to listen to music for a while. Like the mode I'm in at the minute is just podcasts.
Oh yeah, I get that weird thing of what sort of mood I'm in. I can't. Sometimes when I'm in a mood to listen to music, sometimes there's a I need some learning stimulation. And I have to get a podcast or an audio book or something. You got to be in like the right mood to. You listen to yourself, listen to your mood, listen to your um. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, but the other thing as well in terms of listening to your mood is create a life for yourself where you're able to listen to your mood and not just be at the behest of some other person.
Mm.
You know, like that does take time because you're born into a world where every other thing is owned by someone else. Nothing is just yours. There's nothing for you to have. You have to either take it or you need to trade your time for it. So I would just say, as a kind of summarizing of just how I feel about environment, is spend time cultivating it like a garden. And
I think the first step is realizing your past, realizing
that's
that
exactly what I was about to
yeah.
say.
So
That
you can.
when in your past, when you acted in certain ways, when you were damaged and you were upset and you were different than you are today, don't knock yourself for it because you were reacting with the tools and the mindset and the circumstances you were kind of equipped and facing at the time, equipped with and that you were facing at the time. Yeah, you know, I've done a lot of things that I would not dream of doing today. But the thing that I think is important to realize for people who kind of might compare themselves to other people and look down at other people is you would do the same thing if you were in that situation. Yeah. So never stand on this moral high horse like,
I would never do this.
I would never do that. The people will rob their mum if the right situation presents itself. Yeah. So the people who think I would never do that, I would never do that. There's no way that I could ever do that. So, well, the situation's not presented itself for you to do that yet then. Because obviously no one wants to rob their mum. Yeah. But there are people who face situations where that's the only choice. And not that I've done something like that, but I have stolen things. Yeah. Whether it's food or money or items. Yeah.
I've done something like that.
But like, I didn't, I don't feel proud of that at all. And I'm not saying that in a way to boast about it.
It's something that I think about every day. Well, not every day, but something that I have struggled with hating myself for.
But the people who I took things off, I have paid back. And, well, a few of them. But, like, I wasn't who I am now then. Yeah, and I had to do things then just to get by, just to be able to eat and fucking just literally stay alive. Yeah, so those things, I have apologized to those people, and I have paid back people that I've done things to like that. Because, yeah, just be kind to yourself, because the things that you do when you're in these moments of, these down periods, yeah, you've done them as a result of your environment. You were acting in sometimes the best way you could.
It's not a reflection of who you are now or who you want to be in the future. So leave that in the past and never forget it, and realize that is a person that you could be, and motivate yourself. That should be more motivation for yourself to be a better person now and today.
100%.
To never go back to that place.
For real.
Oh yeah. I think I'll save my story for another time.
Yeah? There was something in here that I wanted to read. This book. I love this little book. It's called How to See by Thich Nhat Hanh. It's like a Buddhist... Here we go. Seeds of Suffering. When we look deeply at a flower, we can see the non-flower elements that help it to manifest. The clouds, the earth, the gardener, and the soil. When we look deeply at our pain, we see that our suffering is not ours alone. It's made of many non-self elements. Many seeds of suffering have been handed down to us by our ancestors, our parents, and our society. Being aware of the seeds of our suffering is the first step in their transformation.
Which just summarizes what we spoke about beautifully.
Yeah.
I reckon that's a beautiful place to wrap it up, my
Should
friend.
we leave it there? Yeah. All right. Nice one. Hopefully there was some little tidbits in there that people can relate with, and I hope people don't judge me for saying that I was robbing bread rolls in Lidl last 3 years ago.
Trust me, like what I've got in my head, there's nothing compared to what I've done, mate. But we can only talk about it's a tricky thing, because we're only talking from our own perspective. We completely understand that there's some places and the people environments are just horrendously bad, and it's hard for them to change them certain things about their environment. So all we can talk about is our own past experience and our own environments that we've been able to change, and hopefully that someone can relate to that and also make changes to their own life.
I hope so.
But thanks for listening, people.
Yeah, thank you very much, and speak to you next time.
See you in a bit.